The next game is originated from the regional youth championship under 10 years old. It's black to move, and the player was considering on taking on e4. My question is, how would you evaluate this option? Now to the solution. With evaluating, you might have understood, well, what do you think positionally about this move, and this is certainly most often the case, but with evaluating, you also need to see whether you just lose the game by active moves. So certainly this is a positionally sound move, but before you think positionally about any game or any position, you should first be able to check the active moves. You have to do it. And black didn't do it in this position, and he fell into a trap that white didn't even know he had. So white is winning here, and if you don't see it yet, let's find it together. You need always to calculate the active moves. So first of all, there is a check. Okay, then there is a capture, and finally there is a threat if you see queen to h5. If you don't spot queen to h5 yet, it's easier to spot if you start with bishop takes f7 first, king takes f7, and then if you look for a move how to justify the sacrifice, then you can find queen to h5. Although even if black would have spotted bishop takes f7, then it would be enough reason not to take on e4 already. So in the game, white did play queen to h5, and then black had the decision to make, either to save his bishop and let his king be attacked in the open, or as he played to castle, give up the bishop, but in the end it was enough material gain for white to win the game. And this example should teach you three things. So first of all, you don't need to expect your opponent just to do your bidding. So if you take and you obviously expect him to take back, that does not need to be the case, but there are other options that you need to consider. Secondly, as you see, we are still in the opening, barely out of it, and still we need to take care of the active moves, even if it's early in the game. Well, and finally, you have seen that one mistake can cost you the game, and this is something that you need the active moves for, to check for yourself, but also for the opponent. Sadly, but this is what makes a great player great. Position number 14. And here I would ask you to evaluate this move, rook f to c8. Now to the solution. This is a game that was played between a grandmaster with white and a pretty strong player with about 2200 elo with black. And the position of black is pretty solid, it's fine. There is no advantage for white yet, so black can feel happy. And the move rook c8 is certainly, positionally speaking, one of the best options in the game. But before playing the move, any move in a real game, you should also consider, well, white's reply. And we are not talking about the positional reply. Certainly he can have something like a plan, but he can also just crush your position if you are not careful. And this is what happened in the game. There are only 3 active moves to consider. I made it with, well, the arrows. So there's only 1 check. There is no threats, and there are only 2 captures. So it's easy just to spend 1 second seeing these moves, it's nothing else. And once you see the move knight takes f7 for a player of black strength, it is already enough to decide not to play rook to, well, c8. Or if you touched the rook, then play it to e8 at least. to save the bishop. Because this is what white played, it's pretty easy to spot with such levels, and the game is already over. Black tried something to continue the game, but it's already enough damage, and you cannot obviously take on f7 because of queen takes e6. Next position, position number 15, was played between two women under 20 years old in the German championships. So it's white to move, and white would really love to play c5. My question for you is to evaluate whether this is a good option. Now the solution. The move c5 in this position might seem familiar to you from maybe the third section, but there I put the position on purpose on c1. What happened in this game was white did play c5, and the move does look really strong. The idea is if the bishop moves away, then we can play d6, and actually sadly black did take with the knight on d5, so black trusted the white threat, and in the end white had a huge material advantage, and it was enough for winning the game. But the move c5 is actually a bad move, since again you need to spot all the active moves, and there's no checks, there are two captures, and one of these actually wins the pawn because c5 is pinned, and therefore instead of winning a pawn, white would have actually lost the pawn and most certainly the game if black would just have taken on d5.